Well, Dan, how are you, mate?
Very well, mate. Very well. Very exciting week, this one, isn't it, eh?
Ain't it, Dan? Listen, we've been waiting 25 years for the undisputed. Last
Yeah.
time was obviously Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis. Now we get it. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. How excited are you for it?
Oh, mate. When I thought when it last got called off, I thought, oh, maybe that's it. Maybe this ain't going to happen. Maybe it just ain't meant to be. Maybe we're
Mm.
not meant to get the undisputed. You know what boxing's like? It's either
Yeah,
full on, or it's people avoiding each other, or it's the egos of the promoters and all this sort of stuff. But these two men, they've got to, they've got to have it off. It needs to be dealt with so that we
yeah.
can all move forward. You know what I mean? Because I think ultimately we do want the Fury Joshua fight, don't we?
Yeah, of course. I think that's, for the British boxing fan, everyone wants that. And there's been a resurgence with Anthony Joshua in there in his last couple
Yeah,
of performances. It's been a rebuilding program for him, really, since the
yeah.
defeats. And I mean, I don't know what you feel about it, Dan, but I feel that he's right back up at the top of the game now.
Oh, it's all set up perfectly, mate. There was a time where it was almost like, well, maybe it shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? When Joshua was going through his sort of period of, obviously the Usyk thing, and I think now, and obviously Fury's got to come through this fight, but if he does, it's set up perfectly because obviously Fury struggled with Ngannou. Joshua just smashed him out within seconds. But if Fury can beat Usyk, then it's a level playing field again where you go, oh, right, so the geezer that, Joshua couldn't get near, Fury's beat, but he also made a mug of Ngannou. So let's see. Let's go to work, and it's going to be huge.
What did you read into Fury's performance against Ngannou? Do you reckon it was just that he took his eye off the ball, he didn't train properly, or do you reckon it was just one of those? There was no fear factor there for him, and it was just he just seemed to be underprepared, didn't he?
Well, I don't think you can prepare. I don't think anyone could have prepared for Ngannou because it was his first fight, so there was that. But I think Fury said it himself. He needs to be up for it. He needs to be turned on by it, I think is the words he's used recently. And I
Yeah,
don't think he's been in, he's not, he doesn't get turned on by Chisora or Dillian White or especially not Ngannou. It's the big fights when it's on him. You Klitschko, obviously the Deontay Wilder fight, that first one where he had no right to get in that ring, really, Fury. Because
yeah,
I do love Fury. I know he gets a lot of hate. I am in the Fury camp. I think his story is incredible. I mean, I did a show called Soccer AM with him, Soccer PM they called it. It was a late night version, and he was sitting there and he was talking about making his comeback. And I sat next to the man, and his man fat was so much. When I put my hand down on the settee, I put my hand on his fat, right? I thought, there's no way in the world this man's going to get it together to get back in the ring. And I think he had a Tony Bell who come on and they was having a bit of an argument. I thought, I can't see it. But he done it. He done it. He got his nut down. He trained. He done loads of weight. He lost them. I don't know how much he lost. Maybe 14 stone or something, wasn't it, at one point?
yeah, yeah.
And he got in the ring with Wilder, supposedly the most dangerous man on the planet. And he had it with him. And not only that, he took his dig. No one's ever took a Wilder dig before like that. And he got up and he had it for him for the last couple of rounds. It was that last round where he just come alive. He loved it. He's a fighting man. He's a traveller. He's got it in him, So when it comes on top, I fancy him for this, mate. I think, and also everything he's done, everything he's created, his whole legacy. If he loses to Usyk, it's all gone. It's all gone. No one cares about what he's done up to this point. If he loses to Usyk.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. Like, I think Fury's at that stage of his career where he needs his back up against the wall. And the only geezer that's going to do that right now is Alexander Usyk. And obviously, if that fight with Joshua happens, then great. But talking about this one, I think that you see him physically, he looks in great shape. And a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. And what we've seen from Fury as he's arrived in Riyadh is he's socializing with everyone, he's giving interviews, he's in a happy headspace. And I think that's important for him, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think he's giving Usyk the respect that he deserves. I know he's not, you know what I mean? He's now going, no, this is the hardest fight I've ever had. He's not giving it the cruiserweight one anymore. He's actually accepting that, this geezer he's going to fight is by far his hardest challenge. And of course, what's at stake, the undisputed and all that, he knows he's got to be on it. And he knows he's not going to take his eye off the ball. He's going to, I think this is going to be, it's going to go points, is what I think. But I think it's going to be two incredible boxers just trying to outbox each other. That's what I think. I don't think there's going to be no swinging haymakers trying to knock each other out. I just can't see it. I just think it's just going to be back and forth, putting pressure on each other, dancing around, trying to figure each other out. I don't think there's going to be a familiar pattern with this fight, Spence, you know?
Yeah, do you think it's going to be a little bit of a chess match then, Dan? But do you
Yeah,
think it will explode at some point? You think that at some point, if this fight's close and we get into the penultimate rounds, 9, 10, 11, 12, one of them may just roll the dice and go for it?
Yeah, but I think if we do get to 9, 10, 11, 12, you know, at that point we've had an amazing fight. So I think that's when they might both try and put their foot on the pedal, because I don't think Usyk's a fan of Fury, is he? I think, especially from what I've seen with this build up with, you know, John nutting someone and all that, you know, it's all got a little bit, I don't know, a bit.
What did you make of that nut, by the way?
Well, it was an odd one because it's a weird video. It's interesting that John Fury nuts the smallest geezer in the group, and that was a bit mad. And also
I'm well over out there, mate.
Come out worse than all, didn't he, John? I think he opened his own nut up. So, but I don't think Tyson needs all that. I understand it's his dad, and he loves his boy, and he's, in the heat of the moment, they're sort of, there's a lot of support for Usyk out there, from what I can tell, and they're supporting their man. But I don't know. It was such a, I think whenever you nut someone, not that I've nutted many people, Spence, I think it's a very much spur of the moment sort of, you're squaring up to someone, you don't know how it's going to go, and then you just stick the nut on them, So it weren't like you gave it a full nut either. It was just more of a, I suppose it's such a unit, John. He's trying to push him away, but it's not good behaviour, mate. And I don't think it's good for Tyson. I don't think he needs all that heat around him. But I think he obviously loves his dad, and he appreciates his dad's just, trying to protect his boy or stick up for him, or I suppose it's that family traveller mentality, you know what I mean? That, they feel threatened in any way, they're going to hold their hands up. They never run away from the fight, these people.
Yeah, Dan, listen, this fight determines who's the number one heavyweight of this generation, of the modern generation. We've got the undisputed. If you look back in time and go back to other undisputed champions, you've got Mike Tyson. Most recently was Lennox Lewis in 1999. How would you rank the winner of this against like a Lennox Lewis or a Mike Tyson? Where would you put them in that? Because, I mean, it's an interesting debate, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just that was the golden era, though, wasn't it? The Lennox Lewis, the Tyson era. I mean, it was so exciting then. I love Lennox Lewis. It's weird because I think he was brought up in Canada or something, wasn't he? But he was from Marmano originally. He's an East Londoner, and he went to a place called Tunmarsh Lane, which was round the corner from me. So it was weird because we was always rooting for him because he was a British fighter, but he spoke American. Like, he had a weird twang to his accent, what he still got. But I mean, Lewis was just, he had it all, didn't he? He had it all. It's such a different era now. I think if Fury can come through this and he becomes undisputed, I mean, I know people, they sort of doubt his legacy in the sense of who he's fought, but you cannot deny that this man, in the shape of him, I mean, this is what I love him and all. He gives all geezers with a derby, right, a chance. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, like the idea that a man can get in a ring in his sort of shape. I know he's 6'9", whatever he is. He's a big, tall geezer, but the shape of him, he's not really built like a boxer, is he?
No.
But yeah, he's got heart, he's got soul, he's got courage, and I just remember that Wilder fight, and Wilder being a terrifying beast. And Fury's playing around with him. He's putting his tongue in his face. You know what I mean? He's taking a clump, and he's, I just love that showmanship. I think it's something in that for me. So I don't know. How would Fury have got on in that golden era? I don't know. I don't think he would have done as well. I'll be straight with you. I think there was far too many brilliant, dangerous, different dynamic sort of heavyweights. Do you know what I mean? It was so many to choose from, especially, Tyson with that nutty era when he got out of the nick and he was just a loon when he was just, taking chunks out of people's ear holes and all that sort of stuff, which I think Fury would have been more suited to. He'd have loved all that game. Yeah, but, and Holyfield, all these people that were just, there were just so many good fights back in the day. That's why we're so excited about this one, because, as much as we've been treated to a few good fights this year so far, I think it's a bit thin on the ground, really. Big fights, big, massive fights, undisputed fights, certainly. But, this is what we want to see, mate. This is what we love, don't we?
Yeah, we do, mate. And I think that this fight will only really get the recognition that it deserves in years to come, like that golden era that you were talking
Yeah,
about there. Dan. I
yeah,
really do. Listen, where did your love for boxing come from, mate? Because I remember first seeing you, I think we was at George Groves versus Cole Frotch. We was there.
yeah,
Another one that I think was AJ when he boxed Klitschko as well. I
yeah,
see you a lot of the big fights, but where did
yeah.
your love for boxing come?
I just love it, mate. And I think I come from East London, and I had a few pals. Like Kevin Lear was a very good friend of mine, and so I was sort of surrounded by boxing, and West Ham Boxing Club was, was on the same street as where my nan lived in Stratford. Like it's always been around me. Obviously, I would never have the discipline or probably the courage to get in a ring, but I was
Have you
always
ever
very
done
much.
it? Have you ever done it
No,
before?
no, listen, look, we used to put gloves on me and my pals and we'd have a little spar and fight. I never had the discipline for it, mate. As well as anyone. You got to live and breathe it. And that was the thing about Kevin Leo. He was a great boxer, and then Kevin Mitchell to an extent, I don't think they lived and breathed it constantly. Ricky Hatton as well, was a brilliant fighter and he would always be in shape. But, in them moments in between fights, they would eat and drink what they want and be merry and, be out with the boys and stuff. I remember, when we used to go and watch Kevin, and then we'd go out after and we'd get bang on it for 2 days. And I think, how's he doing that to his body? So I never had the discipline for it, mate. But I also saw that it was an avenue to get out of the area we was in. It was a way of not getting involved in the other stuff. It was a way of, because, we've got this thing in us, men, the masculine thing. And, most men will avoid violence, right? I would say that. But, it's in us. And it's a way of expressing ourselves. And if we can do it, within the art form of boxing, then it's a beautiful thing and it stops people getting into trouble, basically. So I've seen a lot of people coming through and, going on to have careers. And I think that, it's an avenue out of, that working class estate, sort of council estate environment, So it's always been a fascinating thing. And I just love it. I just think it's something about a sport where, just 2 men in a ring having a chair up and, trying to survive. It's so exciting to me, I love it.
You're right, mate. And it is a saviour for so many kids because they do come from them backgrounds of
Yeah,
deprived areas, council estates or whatever. And it does give them opportunity. And I think hope and opportunity in the world that we live in is a beautiful thing.
of course it is. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And I just want to see a few more coming through. You got Johnny Fisher as well, who's, he's out, he's out of the flats as well. He's got that in him, a romp for ball. I love watching him fight. I hope he goes on to do amazing things, young John Hedges as well. I think he's a very talented kid. I think so. It's fascinating watching these youngsters coming up through the ranks, and as long as they stay disciplined and they love the sport and they appreciate it and they respect it, then they should go on to do, things that they deserve, and like I said, keeps them out of trouble. Because if you've got that violence thing in you anyway, you're going to go and start hurting people for no reason, and there's a lot of that going on at the moment out there. There's a lot of anger, a lot of division, especially with youngsters at the moment. They're running around with knives and blades, and we're in a mad. We've regressed as human beings, I feel, and I do put it down to. I'm not going to go to the conspiracy one, but I think this whole being locked down for a couple of years, we're still suffering from it, Spence.
Yeah,
I watched the thing on Netflix the other day about Wembley, and all these sort of young, everyone was locked up, but all these young men locked up for nearly 2 years in their gas, no jobs, all lost their job, don't know what to do, and all of a sudden they let everyone out, and then everyone at our past state's gone to Wembley having a party, it's like it was just built up aggression with everyone, it's sort of. You're angry at society and angry at the government for, going, no, you're not allowed out. You've got to stay in. So they sort of created this mess. Yes, it was awful what these people done. They were running in the ground, but also because it was COVID, they knew that there was 25,000 empty seats because they was trying to space people out. Again, stupid. This is the thing we never hear about now, COVID. Where's it gone? But back then, and now it's created this whole thing with youth, young people, disenfranchised, angry, and they've got a lot of aggression, mate. And unfortunately, they're taking it out on each other. So we need to get more young people into boxing, into gyms, and give themselves a belief, because, every single human being needs a chance at life, mate, and that can be whatever it is. We're all talented, Spence. We've all just got to find it, whatever it is,